Anyways, that was you know,
go on that another
New Jersey.
No, but I think if you start to unravel the messaging of like, if I just tweak this a little bit, if I just had more perfect skin, if I, like you said, just had cheekbones, just had the lips, just had the better hair, like, at the end of the day, doesn't it all come down to, like, we just want to be loved?
Yes.
Because, like, if really, it's not about success, because what does success actually give you? Reverence, accolades, people going like this, people wanting to suck your dick, like, whatever it is, but, like, ultimately, I think the human experience is, like, we don't want to feel alone, thus we want to be loved. So, like, if really all that leads to that, then, like, how trivial and insane and asinine does it sound to be like, I will get love if I just remove all that. Like, I'm sitting here, like, you told me you're gonna video record this. Like, my anxiety was, like, through the roof because I was like, but I told myself I'm not wearing makeup today, Victoria, and I'm gonna stand by that. And, like, the nerves of, like, what was coming up for me of being like, no, Tamra, you need to put on some makeup. You're gonna be on camera. Like, just what comes up for us as women, and I'm
Girl,
sure,
I didn't have my hat, and I'm like, oh my god, my hair looks like shit. I'm going everywhere, and like I'm so worried.
Like, look at these words we use. Like, hair looks like shit, but like according to what standard? What if there's other women out there being like, this bitch, I wish I had hair. I wish I had straight hair. I wish I had, like, there's all these things people wish they had, and I know when I look at myself, I'm like, there's a lot of things people wish that they had that I like. Since I was young, I don't even remember where the messaging started, how young I was, that critiqued every little thing about, you couldn't point on a part in my body and I'd say, yeah, I like that. It was like, fuck it, head to toe. I definitely didn't want my curly hair because I had like crazy Shakira curls. And
love the Shakira curls.
But like you said, like, your body wasn't in back then. My hair and body was not in where I lived. Like, my mom moved us to suburbia from LA, and I was like the redheaded stepchild, and that term is antiquated and shouldn't be used either. I fucking love redheads, but like, I think it's like we all just want to assimilate to what's around us because we don't want to feel alone. And like,
of course.
And now we live in the society that's like, to not feel alone, we have to like do things to ourselves to fit in, but then we're actually like just becoming like,
no.
Doesn't every woman look like Kim Kardashian now? Like,
at least in
no
LA.
offense to her, because like she's beautiful, but it's like, why do we all need to look like, oh, you've had the Kim Kardashian cheeks, you've had the thing up here. I don't know what they do. They like.
My thing is just like, does anyone think about the fact that they maintain, there's maintenance with that shit. Like,
it costs so much money.
It costs a lot of money.
And by the time you hit 40, bitch, you're not gonna look anything like that. No one thinks the longevity about this whole thing.
And can we also talk about the fact that aren't we supposed to be falling in love with our best friend? So, like, my whole thing is, like, I've totally, like, I haven't actually talked to you about this.
Who's his best friend? Like a real best friend or like ourselves?
Well, we should fall in love with ourselves first, right? Because without self-love, you can't love anybody else. Step. Now, if it's your real best friend, that's your thing. Awesome. If you're trying to hit on me, I mean, girl, I'm single.
We're not married by, like, 40.
Should we make this fast? Okay,
yes.
40? Okay, that
maybe, like, 40's
still young.
You
don't want to marry me that bad.
Like 45?
Wait, no, I was saying, like, 35. No, I'm just kidding.
I would be a good spouse.
I know you would.
We'd travel together.
Yeah,
like,
fuck yeah, we'll make money, bitch.
No, I think that that's the thing is, like, we want acceptance and love so bad. It's so, like, social
all
media,
people,
like,
not
goals,
just women,
and
though.
like, no, they want to have that partnership that they can show to the world, and like, and it's this whole like idea of perfection being put out there on a grand scale of success, relationships, our physicality, the optimum health, the optimum body type, the optimum relationship, optimum job. It's like, fuck these standards that nobody can live up to. And I think we're hitting like a precipice of it where it's about to like burst all the way the fuck open, because you can see it now. Our mental health is going out the wayside. Like, people are losing their shit
because nobody's being real. Like,
all we want is connection.
Yeah, and that's why I had to start the show, because I'm like, dude, like, I'm
talking about
and all I want is connection. And I go out with these dudes, like, I've even tried girls, and I was just like, maybe I'm
something. Give me something real.
But the thing is that nobody wants to connect, and nobody wants to take the time to really get to know each other, you know?
And I think it's a blanket statement to say no one wants to. I think everyone wants to.
Okay, you're right.
I think it's too scary for someone to
vulnerable.
Be like, here's my shit.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to have you be like, no, I don't want it. And, like, how crushing that can feel. But, like, because we haven't worked on ourselves to feel rejection. Like, I think our generation especially was raised in a sense of, like, I'm not going to let you feel rejection because I don't want you to experience that because we experienced that and, like, we want better for you. But it's, like, humans have to experience what it feels like to... And it's not rejection. It's just being, like, you know what, we don't see eye to eye on this, like maybe there's something else out there, and it's like, and you're not saying you suck just because there's not something that's collaborative between the two. It's just saying, like, these are my preferences, but, like, we're so afraid to be rejected, we're so afraid to put our truest self out. I think majority of us don't even know who our truest selves are. Like, that's what we're trying to figure out,
because we're all hiding behind social media. Like, think about it. A lot of people, like, I've met a lot of young people recently, and I asked them how, like, social media has influenced...
like, high school? Or, like,
high school.
Okay, yeah.
And how social media, how porn, everything. And they're like, well, you have to live up to something constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, but in real life, my parents are taking me to the psychiatrist, and they're telling me I'm fucked up and putting me on these pills and doing this. So all life they're telling, well, there's something mentally wrong with you because you can't focus or because you can't do this. And the truth is, we're fucking people.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, like, they tried to tell me I had ADD. I'm like, yeah, and? Like, what the fuck? You're gonna take... I've seen people go on this shit. And I'm not saying this is for everybody, because for some people, this really...
Right, some do...
I do think that...
There's medication can help.
Exactly. Not... But I think that certain things have just been made too easy, because people don't want to deal with their emotions or deal with their children.
Yeah, that too. Because then that would mean they'd have to deal with themselves, because their children are a reflection of themselves, and God forbid they unpack that whole thing, because that would be... Oh, it's why they say, like,
Lord
you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Like, you can't. They can learn new tricks. They can rewire themselves, but they have to want to. Like, in this whole plastic surgery thing, I'm not out there speaking about explanting, like, Jesus lovers, you know? I'm not saying, like, you have to go do this to be your truest self. I'm saying, like, dude, if you're ready, like, I'm here to walk you through it, but I can only lead you so far. And I could only have been led so far. No one was about to tell me, take them out because X, Y, and Z. I had to end up where I ended up. So I think everyone's journey and process is different. It's just like, when I see younger generations being so affected by I don't even know the age range, but, like, I guess people in maybe their 40s or 50s having kids that are now, like, in their teens, like, the disconnect between them not ever assessing themselves and looking introspectively and seeing how that was going to affect their children, and then raising their children in a technology-based world that they weren't ready for.
Yeah.
It's like, can't we have the conversation of, like, yeah, we might have fucked up. Like, how do we reverse this?
And really talking about... So, one thing...
Talking is the best thing to do with your kids, with each other. Like, it can solve so much.
It's crazy. I saw an article recently, people are mad in Texas, and now I just read a quick article, so don't quote me on all of this, but basically they had brought, which wasn't a great idea, but a transgender woman to come in to speak to the class, right, and because it was part of their elevated sex education program. And I saw, like, they talked about anal play, and they said start in 3rd grade to 8th, but I'm like, honestly, kids are having sex at a young age. 3rd seems a little young for me.
I didn't know what a penis was.
I would assume high school. That's the only thing. But, and on top of it, get this, the woman was supposedly a prostitute, like, literally.
They just went there.
So they
went like 0 to 1,000.
They went real
like,
far. They were trying to, like, but the idea is, I do think, like, you know, like, I remember sex, and I'm like, why didn't anybody ever talk about masturbation with us? Because for me, I feel like if I understood how I could actually come Like, I didn't understand I could even do that, like, for a long time.
Okay, I'm the wrong person to talk to that part about because I was the one kicked out day one. Remember they say if you laugh, they tap you on the shoulder and you're out?
Yeah.
Well, Miss Tamra over here can't process anything uncomfortable because of my, like, traumas that have been so ingrained in my brain and I had shut off. And I have no communication in my home to know anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't know anything about my body, anything about sex, anything about boys, like, nothing. I was, like, the first person kicked out. And they wouldn't let me return. And I'm like,
they didn't let you return?
No, and isn't that such a sad thing? It's like, one thing you should know about, like, health and about the children's adolescence and development is, like, laughing is a cover-up for, like, being really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And, like,